This is the What's Next podcast, Houston's #1 platform where I invite creatives to share their journeys and give us a depiction of their visions. Most importantly, the last question I'll ask is, what's next? Yeah. Episode 85, Houston, Texas. Episode 85. Like the great once said, hard to be humble when you're stunting on a jumbotron. Let's go, man. Goodbye, September. Let's go. Yeah. It's a hobby and I'm wildin' in my wallies. Yeah. Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas. Just when I thought that I wasn't going to drop an episode this coming Tuesday, actually in a few minutes, just when I thought I wasn't going to drop an episode because there was no guest, or rather me and my guest schedules got conflicted. Just when I thought I wasn't going to drop an episode, here I am, episode 85. And like I've said in previous episodes, you know, the 80s on this podcast have been miraculous. And leave it to me to find a way to sneak in and get into this aura of what it is from episode 80 till now, right? So welcome back to episode number 85, Goodbye September, of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary Inc. This is a creative story. And I want to do this episode in less than 30 minutes, right? Because I already give you 45 to an hour with the guests that come onto the podcast. So I want to do this episode as quickly as possible, okay? Let's start here. First and foremost, I want to say happy National Sons Day to everybody who considers themselves a son. Rest in peace to my baby boy, John Ross Dike II. Like I put on Instagram earlier today, I would rather you be here, right? But when God feels that you've served your purpose, and he calls you home, we can't be mad at that. So, you know, I'm not going to front, and I want to be as introspective as possible. I shed a couple of tears earlier writing that Instagram post. Got the okay from my wife, of course, because I don't ever want to put our business out, especially stuff that has to do specifically with her, out without her consent. So it put tears to my eyes, not being able to celebrate National Sons Day with my own. But, you know, God makes no mistakes. And, you know, as a devout Christian, you have to accept that. I want to say rest in peace to Breonna Taylor. I don't think that is said enough on my behalf outside of this podcast. I was really bewildered. But at the end of the day, you know, what do you expect? What did I expect? That, you know, they were just gonna do what everybody had been preaching and protesting for, the right thing. So I want to say rest in peace to Breonna Taylor. You know, it's tragic. It is tragic, man. And I pray that nobody that I have come in acquaintance with, no woman that I love in my life, no woman that I know in my life directly ever faces that same fate without justice. Goodbye September, right? Like I said, it's only me today, guys. And, you know, I love this thing we call here podcasting. I love it. It's my passion. And I went to church this weekend, and the Pastor Odin was talking about passion, right? And so, yeah, I love this thing here, right? And I was thinking, what happens when your passion hasn't yet materialized into something that you can quantify to your loved ones? Show me yo, I appreciate you holding me down. What happens when that doesn't happen, right? And it brought me to this. This is what I think people should take from this episode. that sometimes success, right, is exactly what you make it. I'm reminded after I watched Toby's pandemic experience this weekend, I'm reminded of what it being your time means and working towards that it being your time. You know what I'm saying? That you can't wish the success that other people see for yourself if you haven't been through that same journey or your own journey. It reminds me of what Mario was talking about in episode number 81, which is now streaming on my website, stillvisionary.com /what's next podcast, right? Run your race. You got to run your race. You got to run your race. And with that being said, success is what you make it, right? It's exactly what you make it. You know, I can't wish to somebody else's success for myself, and I can't wish for my success to go to somebody else. So what I would like people to take from this episode is that you have to define what success means to you and be willing to accept whatever it looks like that you receive, right? And I know that, you know, I haven't been able to quantify my passion, but I'm starting to see, yo, you know what? You're making a little headway. People see you working, right? And that's all we want as artists. That is all we want as artists, that people recognize our talent, our skill, and people help us get our message across. That's all we want. Yeah, goodbye September. So bittersweet. Why? Because, you know, September is my birthday month, right? I just celebrated my 21st birthday, Friday, September the 18th, right? So I did what I did last year in LA. I recorded as many episodes as I could so that way, the week of my birthday, I wouldn't be bombarded with episodes to cut out and edit and chop and drop, right? So I recorded a couple of episodes early, celebrated my 21st birthday, really. And I'm back here now for episode 85. But September's, it's always bittersweet because you wait for your birthday month to come, and then when you realize your birthday falls on the second half of the month, right? And so when your birthday comes, then the month quickly passes, right? So, you know, the 18th comes, and then surely enough, after the 18th, Virgo season ends on the 23rd, and we're off into Libra season. So, you know, my birthday comes and it goes, and then we move into the fourth quarter. But, you know, goodbye September, man. You know, it's been a hell of a year thus far. A hell of a year, right? Just now getting back into school right now, teaching, educating, and seeing that some kids are still not actively participating after having 6 to 7 months off. It's been a hell of a year, right? Yeah, you know, I want to play this song right here. I love this song. I love what it represents.
What?
You know, I played this song in episode number 82, You Got Time, featuring my man Easy Eve, Saint Eve Ozude. It puts me in a mood, and it's not a long song, but we're gonna get all 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So 3 minutes are 3 minutes and 40 something seconds of it.
Well, 3 days, same clothes, 2 eyes I can't close, different town, same road, just how that game goes.
Yeah.
I choose fake, no fake shows. I lose weight and
Way more.
Must have Bolivia, I must track, gotta believe me. Nigga never knew about revenue.
Yo.
Just pick a side, red or blue.
I didn't even introduce myself. My name is John Ross Dike the First, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dike and still_visionary. All my paraphernalia is in the front, stillvisionary.com/merch. Walk with me. ethic exceptional.
Break soul for my classmate from the tooth fairy and astitude. I don't got nothing to lose.
Ooh.
I get everything in tools.
Ooh.
I don't remember this girl, but she for me like she has something to prove.
Ooh.
I don't know nothing about rules. I don't know why I'm so fucking confused.
Ooh.
I don't see nothing but food.
Ooh.
I don't do nothing but you. Goddamn.
Listen, I wanted to name this episode About a Dollar.
For that dollar, I'm about to holler your honor, and I'm hopping out of this collar.
But when I thought about it,
But I got some partner with Dr.
I was like, nah, goodbye September's better.
I'm about a dollar.
I'm about a dollar.
I'm about a dollar.
I'm about a dollar.
I'm about a dollar. I'm shouting, I'm about a dollar.
Yeah.
Y'all know I'm about a dollar.
Verse 2, we'll wrap it, y'all.
Your honor, I'm about a dollar. So my phone to my pocket.
Yeah.
One phone, no contract.
Yeah.
Few hoes in the gold one.
Yeah.
The silver one with no contacts. Niggas roaching me combat. Hoes approaching you smell good. They stick around when you live like you bad as fuck, but you smell good.
I sort of need priorities. I'm already a minority.
Go to war with these authorities.
Yeah.
But the problem with me is my lawyer fee.
Yeah.
Damn, they getting paid by the hour.
Yeah.
Look what I made in an hour.
Whoa.
Really 10 minutes, you counting on how I go this on not taking a shower.
I don't play.
No, don't worry, mama. I don't play, I get paid in a hurry, mama. I don't wait, I don't pray for my food, I traffic. I don't play, I just learn how to play in traffic. I did that every day and made a habit. Dog it down like I'm gamma for gamma. Put that steak on my plate and they made it sad. But my appetite, fuck out my manager. I'm about a dollar, yeah. It's niggas that die for that dollar.
Oh, man.
And I'm hopping out of this college and graduate college.
I think this song was appropriate for me to play in this exact moment because of where I'm about to go with the conversation. You know, again, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is John Ross Dike the first. My son was John Ross Dike the second. And in honor of him, I put that Roman numeral on my name. No different from being senior, but it is what it is. But I thought the song was appropriate for me to play in that exact moment because as September's wrapping, today being September 29th, right? Happy birthday to my homegirl, Takara Taylor, T. Melly. Yo, I got the utmost respect and admiration for you, T. Melly. If you're listening to this episode when it drops today at 6 p.m., I love you, appreciate your love and support. Thank you for all the advice you've ever given me, the support you've given me, and just a genuine person in my corner. Appreciate you, T. Melly. Happy birthday to you. Happy 21st birthday to you. But I thought About a Dollar was an appropriate track to play at that moment because all I've wanted to do in this journey is be about a dollar. See where that dollar comes from. And I'm talking about the type of dollar that gives you a headache, right? Because coming from where I'm from, I've done it all. I've driven school buses. I've walked the Brooklyn Bridge to have cheesecake at Junior's in New York City. I've been to my favorite rappers, favorite MC's hood. I've been to California, lived in Florida, been at the Sears Tower in Chicago, right? I've had a child and buried a child, gotten married, bought a house. I've done a lot. Mopped floors for women, worked at Domino's Pizza, couriered, driven a Metro bus. I've done it all. Only thing I haven't done is sold drugs, right? And as an artist, I have always been for the art but never knew how to quantify it. What does it look like to be making money full-time as an artist is something that's eluded me for the longest. So I thought that, you know, maybe if I worked a full-time job on the side, which I've always done, if I work a full-time job on the side, maybe, you know, that money would trickle over and help me pursue this acting or this, you know, producing or whatever I'm trying to do on the side. That's a hobby. Maybe it'll help me do that. No. It's always been real life experiences that come with working a real job, paying rent, bills. So I've always had to figure out a way to keep the art going, whether it is front the bill for all the expenses up front so that way in hopes of maybe somewhere down the line I will recoup everything, right? I've had to do that. And, you know, being about a dollar is just not, it takes a while to get there, right? So what do I do in addition to working a full-time job as an educator, I get into a real estate program that I've been talking about on here. I had Mike, my man Mike, my once upon a time roommate, had him on here. And, you know, I looked up to him because he was doing the real estate, right? So I get into a real estate program in April, right around the time that we're buying this house. I sit and I do everything my realtor asks me to do. I do everything that my lender asks me to do, right? And I'm thinking, yo, if it was this easy to call for a break, well, really not easy, but if it was this easy for my realtor to make this kind of money in this quick time, is this something that I could do as well, with hopes of bringing that hustled income into my craft and into my family, right? So I get into a real estate program. And at first, I was dependent on my large brother to carry me through. But then I found the motivation to finish it or to push through. Because the first time I was in a real estate program, I didn't pass the first two tests. We talking about principles of real estate. One, I didn't pay. I failed it twice and had to pay for it all over again. And so I finally passed the test. Then I passed real estate principles 2. Then I passed contracts. Then I passed promulgated forms. Then I passed Texas agency. And this episode drops Tuesday the 29th. So on September the 30th at 11 p.m., I'll be taking the last course of the program to wrap it and then get ready for my final. So, yeah, I'm going to find my way to that dollar. I'm going to find my way to that dollar to further this, because I'm in for the long haul. You know, it's my passion. And you will find things to cultivate your passion. You will find things to keep your passion going. Just so that way you can say, I was successful at it, right? What song's on my mind? Like I said, I watched the Toby pandemic experience this weekend. He had a couple of joints, Eat with him, Fat, and Nell. When Fat started freestyling in that joint, and I saw how elated Toby was to see his wife partaking in the artistry, in MCing. I was like, man, this is so hard. The energy is so hard. I'll go with Eat. I'll go with Fresh Air. Black by Toby. I'll go with Wale Sumi. And then, you know, like I said, the opening song of this podcast is by The Nice Guys. I've had the MC of The Nice Guys come on my podcast, and I had him come on my podcast, and I finally got a chance to talk to him. He had been one of those conversations that I'd been longing to have, because if you've been following me on this podcast, I talk about Easy Eve in episode 1 of my podcast, A New Beginning, you know, which was rough. I mean, I talk about him then. We talk about, this is episode 85. We talking about 84 episodes ago, I was talking about Eve. You know what I'm saying? Because he literally has given me life in my production career. I've always used his music. I've always called him when I needed some records to kind of piece together the mood of the projects I was creating. And he came through every time. So to sit next to him in episode 82 was a dream come true, because, you know, if I never get to meet the idols, the MCs that I grew up listening to, Eve is one that I grew up listening to, that I know, that I got his number in my phone, that maybe could even convince him to rap again. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, he's one of the illest MCs that I have ever had the privilege of shaking his hand. And I will go down saying that because I believe it. But their album, The Show. Their album, The Show, celebrated. Let me make sure their album, The Show, yesterday celebrated 10 years. And so the song that I play on the podcast is called Overtoast. But this, this is the first version of Overtoast entitled Toast.
This is a toast. I know we doing the most. Yeah, my niggas on with me and we toasted. Whoa, we don't mean any harm. Living a dream, we don't dream anymore. Toast, yes, so this calls for another bottle. Yes, Excelsior is the fucking motto. I know. Too big for my britches. It's a celebration, bitches. I feel excellent knowing I'm the excrement. To play the game on extra hard, no extra man. It kept me extra thin. Without my next of kin, getting by was like a day without the Mexican. Now I'm extra bent, more estrogen. Some extra shy, some S&M. I've been had hundreds, Benjamins. I've been had diamonds.
This is not a music podcast, but I love music.
Better than it's ever been. See, I've done it all.
I done it all.
I was the top dog, but as a younger dog, cause life's a bitch. Fuck a dog. I'm beating cases left and right. You lucky dog. I hope I get the message like me, bro.
I earned my ego. This is a toast. I played this record in episode 63, Definition of Manhood, featuring my homegirl Jayla Jenkins. And let me hear one part and we'll move on into the episode.
In a dream, we don't dream anymore. Toast. Yes, so this calls for another bottle. Yes, Excelsior is the fucking motto.
That's me. That's Eve right there behind me, y'all. What song's on his mind?
Good times. Remember hood times? Those were good times. Too with my crook mind. Can't appreciate the good till you
See the bad.
These niggas loving what they want,
not what they have. And I appreciate the love cause I felt the hate. And I appreciate the hugs cause I felt the scrapes.
So when my fam got his hand on my shoulder,
bust open some more sham. I'll be damned if he's sober. Yeah, so those songs are on my mind. Toast by my homeboy and one of the illest rap groups that I've ever known personally, the Nice Guys. And Toby's records, Black. I think he featured on that record. Black, Fresh Air, and Eat. So listen, you know, I'd be remiss not to mention this, but again, I would like to say this to everybody who's ever been on my podcast, right? From episodes from the beginning, January 1st, 2019, up until September 29th, 2020. I want to, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you, because without you, the What's Next podcast would not be what it is to me, and it would not be what it is to everybody that I've handed a card to tell them to check me out. This podcast is the creative story. So without the guests that I've had on here, you know, I don't know what this podcast would be about. I don't know if I'd be confident in sitting here for 85 episodes talking about myself, right? So I've implored and looked to other creatives to come on and just get their story, pick their brain, see what the process was like for them to get to that point, right? And keep tabs on them, right? Because not only am I looking to see how far they get, but myself too. I'm looking to see how far I get as well. So, you know, without the guests that have been on my podcast, man, this podcast would not be what it is. And I'm eternally grateful for everybody who has come and sat next to me and listened to me laugh, listened to me hit the air horn, and bared with me as I try to depict them in the best light, right? Yeah, man. If you notice, I have a mobile podcast, right? So it's always a constant struggle finding out where's the best place to record, where's the best place to film. And when I film in the white room, shout out to my man 3, I film in the white room for the majority of times, right? And well, I film in the white room when I can't get into the creative space because I like to be where they are so that they don't have to move and I can get into their aura, right? So I film in the creative space, right, when I can. If I can't, then I go to the white room. And if the white room is not available, right, then I have filmed in my house. So I've done a few episodes here over by the window to my left, your right, right? And then I was thinking, I tried to film episode 79 with my homie, Asia Munns. We're up next. And shout out to Asia because she's done 3 episodes of my podcast. Shout out to her. Love you, fam. Appreciate you. But I tried to film episode 79 in my office the weekend of the Woven Colors premiere. And Asia, my bad, but I couldn't get the visual to work, right? So that didn't work. That space didn't work, right? And I was thinking, where can I go in the house? What's left? And so the other day, last week, when the Miami Heat game was on, I told Instagram that I got the Heat. They're winning in 6. And I was playing my podcast on the TV. And I was like, man, what if I were to record episode 85 at the crib right in front of my podcast? So if you're listening to this, you might want to look at the timestamp that you're listening to at this moment and go to the YouTube link on my website, stillvisionary.com/what's-next-podcast and check out the visual, right? I don't want to make this routine. I don't know how my wife is going to react, but I thought, hey, why not? You only live once, right? Today is September the 29th. Again, happy birthday to my homie, T. Melly. And we have 93 days left in the 2020 year. For me, I have a few things that I have in mind before the 2020 year is over. First of all, I'll become a licensed real estate agent in the first part of the fourth quarter of 2020. And then for the rest of the year, man, I want to try to sell a house or two. And take my wife somewhere nice or prepare for her 21st birthday in 2021, right? So I want to do that. But yeah, I definitely want to get that weight off my back because it's I can understand why when you go to school, okay, and let me take the gloves off. Let me speak to my people, my black people. I can understand why school is never the number one option for us. And even if it is, and we step away from school because we've gotten to a certain point, like for example, I graduated from college in 2009. It's 2020. We're talking about 11 years later. And this is a part of the whole thing for me. 11 years later, so I've worked numerous of jobs, right? But none of the jobs that could successfully support taking my production to a grander scale and maintaining a household. So something got to give, right? And I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it's been my household that gave. Sometimes it's been the production that's given, right? But what was I saying? Wow, I lost it just like that. So the whole idea of continuing education is something that eludes us as a people, especially when you put the books down. So what I'm talking about is, man, in this program, and I'm talking about trying to learn and trying to be able to spit up what I've learned, right? I've had to sit down and really look at this stuff, right? Take notes, review it. Take notes, review it. Like right here. Excuse me, this remote right here. Right here. This is, this is maybe 100 questions from the last unit in the real estate program that I'm looking at and reviewing for my test on Wednesday. But I see why it's so hard to get back in it, because once you're removed from it and you actually start making money, it's hard to go back and continue your education. And I've had to learn how to do that, right? So I've got a newfound appreciation for everybody who gets that continuing education. I got a newfound appreciation for you as somebody who is educated, right? That's miraculous. But I can tell you this, I'm going to make it work, because continuing education outside of this means going back to college and having to borrow money or get my pops to help me pay it, my wife to help me pay it, which is not going to happen. I'm going to figure a way out. I want to say shout out to the Birth and Truth podcast that drops every Thursday. They drop the full episode every Thursday of the month, and throughout the month they drop clips of their podcast. I want to say shout out to the Zenergy podcast by my homie Zen Ashe of Virgo, who celebrated her birthday on the 21st. Black Blues had a birthday on the 1st of September. I want to say shout out to Sam Reed, who was in episode number 84 of my podcast, an up-and-coming pianist in the city. I want to say shout out to him, because I look forward to being involved with him and helping him get to where he needs to get, right? Yeah, success is what you make it. Word. Success is what you make it. Most importantly, the last question I asked, because I did say less than 30 minutes, so I'm around the 31, 32 minute mark. Most importantly, the last question I'll ask of myself is, what's next? Oh man, I would say taking some acting classes, right? Taking some acting classes, and the Every Tuesday brand that I got coming in December. I said that I was going to drop 100 episodes this year. This is episode 85, which means I have 15 more episodes to go, right? So it's 52 weeks in a year. Last year, 2019, I did 45 episodes. If I follow the weekly schedule for the 2020 year, that will put me at 97, which would mean that I had to do 3 extra, and I did 3 extra earlier. But I really have to do. Yeah, I'm short a couple of weeks. So the month of December is going to be a great month, because I'm launching, going into the new year, I'm launching a new clothing line, right? And I'll explain everything the last episode in December. I'm just building it up now. And I want to talk to the like-minded people that are doing clothes in the month of December as well. Yeah, man. But Houston, Texas, I appreciate your time. It's hard to be humble when you're stunned on a Jumbotron. I got my podcast behind me. I'm in the crib. It's drop day. Listen, I do what I do for myself to prove that I could do it for others, man. I'm the illest. Peace and blessings, Houston, Texas.
Yo, it feel like Sachi on my body. Biggie, jiggle, puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies. And them valleys, no Pilates. More way get you more way. Nah, that's the Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal. I crystal with that. I saw a sign like Ace Spades. That Ace of Spades get crackin' like cheers to the money guy. The Willie nigga who buy them bottles. And then they up. Over and done. Overdose. Guess we did it again. Sipping with no